I'm sure everyone who's watching this is well aware of who Will.i.am is. You may know him as the creator of the Black Eyed Peas, or if you're like me, you may remember him from that weird moment where he spoke to Anderson Cooper as a hologram during the 2008 election.
All this technology, I'm being beamed to you like it's Star Wars and stuff.
Yeah, it looks like basically like exactly like in Star Trek when they would beam people down. That's what it looks like right here.
Yeah, but yeah.
Until last week, I was convinced that I just like took too much NyQuil one day as a kid and like completely hallucinated that, but no, apparently CNN wanted us to see that. Will.i.am is the kind of person that likes to, you know, dip his fingers into absolutely anything he can think of. He's a singer, songwriter, producer, tech entrepreneur, founder of Beats by Dre, host on The Voice, a mentor on American Idol. He's in the Garfield movie? Dude, he's in an X-Men movie.
Shouldn't have done that. Now I'm gonna kill you.
Even just a few weeks ago, he partnered with Formula One as their new artist in residence and is set to release multiple F1 inspired tracks. Who even wants that? How many unique songs about race cars can you even come up with before that starts to get stale? I mean, he's already released the first song with Lil Wayne and it's not good. I also think they're paying for bot comments because all the comments that aren't bashing the song look like they're created by ChatGPT.
The artist's music has the ability to transport listeners to another time and place. This artist's voice is simply mesmerizing and captivating. This artist's music has the power to evoke strong emotions in me.
This right here evoked strong emotions in you? Really? It's hard to keep track of all the things that this man is doing, but one thing's for sure, Will.i.am has no business being the authority on half the shit he talks about. Now, hear me out. Will is undoubtedly very talented and has a great track record of producing catchy music. Their insane numbers easily back that up. That being said, I think Will's success as a musical artist has given everyone else around him the idea that he can do no wrong and that his genius transcends the field of music. For example, in a video for Wall Street Journal, Will.i.am gives us a crash course on how to create a good company logo. Why Will, you may be asking? Beats me. He's not an accomplished graphic designer as far as I know, and in fact spends the entire video looking off screen like struggling to read basic design advice off a piece of paper. Stuff like, you know, your logo has to look good big or small, it has to look good even in black and white. So far, pretty standard stuff, until the exact moment Will decides to go off script.
If the logo doesn't represent the company's objective on a symbolic level, right? Because you have to think of what India is going to do to the world.
Cool. Not sure what this has to do with logos, but okay.
But what India is going to do for the world is they're going to create this symbolic language, because India is unique, because they speak English, but they have a different alphabet.
I don't know what India has to do with this, but sure.
They're going to add a whole new type of visual connecting language to the planet.
India is creating language to the sequel.
A new language, a new type of font will emerge, an understanding of symbols.
Ah, it all makes sense now. I've noticed that Will.i.am is one of those guys that'll start a sentence with absolutely no idea where it's gonna go, and he never knows when to stop.
Creativity feels like the world slows down and fast forwards at the same time. It's like you're fast forwarding in slow motion. And then you go to sleep and you wake up and a week's passed. It's like, oh my gosh, what happened? What time is it? 4 o'clock? Now you're lethargic and you're freaking parched. Your lips are all trapped and dry. Your breath smells. Sounds like puzzle. Like, what are you talking about? I don't get it. That's because you're not creative.
Hey, fair enough. I guess Will.i.am is the ultimate authority on creativity because, you know, after all, he was even hired as Intel's Director of Creative Innovation in 2011. Now, what does that mean? I'll just let him tell you.
The anthropologist goes out and looks at human behavior. I go out and make songs that infect popular culture, finding the commonalities between Japanese and Brazilians.
Just answer the question, Will.
To be able to do that is what I call pop-thropology, where you're taking
Anthropological?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is a computer a home? Like, why does a computer have to be a desktop and a laptop? Is it a bathroom? The mirror is the most old school type of reflection in the world.
I still have no idea what he does. I'm not even sure if Will contributed anything to Intel products during his time with them. In fact, judging by how he spoke at the 2011 Intel keynote, I don't even think he knows what Intel does.
I'm excited because, you know, I'm in the studio all the time making music, traveling the world, playing music on my computer, talking about music. I waited in line for that new core.
You see what I mean? He seems so out of place when he's like a part of something that isn't music related, but because it's Will.i.am, everyone just eats up whatever he says.
It's like it's my brain's friend. It's like, hey,
This guy, ever met him?
What up, chick?
He's clearly very articulate when he's talking about music or the industry because he's very intelligent in that regard. So when I see him on stage talking to Bill Gates about science and technology, it truly just baffles me. Like, he seems so out of his element. The hardest clips to watch from Will.i.am are the ones where he tries to tackle political issues. For example, Will is very vocal about education reform and desperately wants to encourage kids to get into STEM programs like robotics and coding, which is great, obviously, and I respect him a lot for that, even though I get very uncomfortable watching him try to articulate that during interviews.
If you want education reform, you just gotta do that.
The interviewer does this thing to Will that everyone does to him when he says something kinda dumb. They either awkwardly laugh or they silently nod their heads like he's onto something profound.
You ask a ninth grader, when are you taking iOS? Do you have you have Android for fourth period? You have Microsoft for second period?
Look, I know what you're trying to say, sort of. I'm not sure if you just had a stroke right there, but either way, dear Lord, could you do one rehearsal? Just one before you go on stage in front of millions of people on TV to talk about a very important subject? Believe it or not, Will.i.am has been heavily involved in the creation of his own line of tech products since 2013, with the creation of his tech company, i.amplus. People were stoked, you know? A person as influential as Will.i.am diving in the tech world? I mean, he must have some big ideas, right? A lot of you probably haven't heard about this, however, because it's been a continuous, unmitigated disaster. The first product from i.amplus was the foto.sosho. First off, that name has got to be the most...
The artist's talent never ceases to amaze us at every turn.
I could tell you what it does, but we both know it'll be funnier if Will explains it for me.
All right, so this is not a fashion accessory. It is a fashion accessory.
Oh my god!
It has a dope camera, dope flash, dope battery.
You know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna take over. It's a clunky iPhone case with a few interchangeable lenses, an upgraded flash, and a slide-out keyboard. And to quote the man himself, it's called foto.sosho. It is exactly what it does. You take a photo on your Sosho.
It's a better user experience than just trying to figure out where the push button is on your iPhone.
Nobody's struggling to find the push button on their iPhone, Will. The camera app's pretty intuitive, actually. It's a big fat circle on the screen. All you did was move that button onto a $320 phone case, so stop making up consumer criticisms that don't exist. It was also intended to work with the foto.sosho app, which was clearly just a one-to-one knockoff of Instagram. Looking back, he was weirdly aggressive about pushing his products in his biggest music videos. This shot has nothing to do with what's going on, so it feels like a really gross subliminal advertising tactic. Regardless, the product failed and soon discontinued. Will's focus for i.amplus seemed to revolve around the concept of wearable tech. He often showed off an assortment of prototypes like smart backpacks or shoes that he claimed can keep track of your blood pressure using nanochips. These things have never properly been showcased or released to the public, so I sort of don't believe a single word he says. He did, however, release the Pulse, a wearable smartwatch, but don't tell him I said that because he apparently hates when people call it that.
I am here with Will.i.am to showcase off his Pulse. You don't call a smartwatch a connected device. What do you like to call it?
Well, it's not a watch. One, it's a new paradigm. It's a device on your wrist called the Pulse.
First off, relax with the attitude, Will. He set you up to explain what it is and you still got mad at him. Also, you can probably see how someone could make that mistake because you yourself do it several times in this interview.
It's more a cuff than a watch. When the sleeve touches the watch.
Will often tries to be the pioneer for new types of tech products. Because of that, he feels very insulted when his work is compared to something that already exists. He didn't like when someone referred to the foto.sosho as a phone case. He referred to it as technology you put your phone into. The Pulse isn't a smartwatch, it's a pulse, which tells time on your wrist and has apps. Basically everything a smartwatch does, except shitty.
The Pulse is one size only. I'm not exaggerating when I say it feels like a handcuff. It's also prone to nasty reflections on its curved surface. When you need to enter text, a tiny QWERTY keyboard appears on the already tiny screen. You simply tap close enough and pray the letter you intended to press gets enlarged so you can select it.
It's definitely unique, I'll give him that. The fact that it has its own SIM card and doesn't need to be linked to a phone is pretty cool. The problem is that it's an overall unpolished and unresponsive device.
I wear two, right? And the reason why I wear two is that punk rock, hip hop, and fashion has told us that this is how people wear things.
What the fuck am I supposed to do with two phones that both need their own data plan, Will? Except do the infinite phone loop whenever I feel like it. What a waste of fucking money!
Some cool features like Vibe.
It hears kind of the tone, it analyzes your voice.
And then my mom could follow my Vibe and check up on me like, are you stressed? What's wrong with you?
This guy's trying so hard not to compare it to a mood ring. It's actually not a mood ring. One, it's a ring-shaped device that tells your vibe, which you wear on your pulse, which isn't a watch. And it doesn't actually tell time because we call every minute a will, so every second is a willimeter. To demonstrate its capabilities, Will.i.am performed a live DJ set only using the pulse, which may sound cool, but I'm about 95% sure he just pressed play on an audio track and sang over it. I mean, I can't imagine this puny, unresponsive touchscreen can fit more than a single knob from a DJ deck. The pulse was yet again another piece of wearable technology that failed to take off. People hated it, and the store page was wiped from the internet entirely. But you didn't think Will.i.am was just gonna give up, did you? Of course not. He went back to the lab and came back with a brand new smartwatch 2 years later. This time it's called a dial, and I know it may look like a pulse, but you know, as Will would likely say, it's actually a brand new paradigm. 1. The dial was a noticeable improvement, boasting an advanced onboard AI assistant that you could converse with. It's called Anita because you talk to it when you need something.
Let's talk about music.
What do you feel like eating?
I feel like eating sushi.
So you want to listen to the new Drake album, but have you considered spicy tuna? There's not much to say here. I mean, the UI is clearly more refined, but it's still clunky and riddled with issues. Oh, and he did another weird concert where he just pressed play on a song, but this time he was singing alongside Anita. Why does he keep doing this? Eventually, i.amplus actually made something that people kind of liked. The i.amplus buttons, which were high-end Bluetooth earbuds that had impressive sound quality. The only downside is, well, you know, look at them. I guess some people could see this as like a unique new aesthetic, but I think they look super gaudy. Apparently, you even hear Will's voice whenever you turn them on, so I'll pass. They were marketed as Bluetooth earphones, for the dope. Gee, I wonder who came up with that tagline. Dope. For a while, i.amplus didn't release any new products. They did, however, start acquiring technology from other companies that focused more on smart home integration and AI tools. So who knows, maybe one day Will.i.am will be the new voice of the modern smart home.
I understand you would like to alert the authorities, but have you considered spicy tuna? Spicy tuna? Spicy tuna? Spicy.
The only other physical product i.amplus released was in 2021 during the peak of COVID. It was a face mask, but not just any old boring face mask. It was a face mask with noise-canceling earbuds, a microphone, LED lights, replaceable HEPA filters, and multiple internal fans. Have you and your friends ever wanted to roleplay as cyberpunk characters during a nationwide pandemic? Well, now your recently unemployed ass can get one for the generous price of $300 plus shipping and tax. That's right, we just made taking your temperature way more dope. My biggest gripe with Will.i.am is not his technology. Like, I truly don't have a big problem with that. I just dislike that because Will.i.am is successful in one field, he gets overly praised and treated like he's a genius in whatever field he chooses, and in reality, it seems like he's just kind of winging it as he goes. However, there is something I dislike even more, and it's much more petty. I hate Will.i.am's wordplay. He's bad at it. Every single time Will tries to be clever, I feel my fucking lifespan shorten.
Hackathon? I see you at a 3-day hackathon building something?
I'm gonna have hackathons. I'm gonna have freaking hacky sack. I'm freaking.
That's great.
I'm freaking yeah, we do that.
So what is poppin'?
There's some poppin' things, and there's some knottin' things. Things that are not poppin', I call them nottins.
The nottins.
Not everything you say needs to be an impressive, quotable moment, dude. It's extra awful because everyone around him always pretends like he's saying something incredible because it's Will.i.am.
I'm not saying like every celebrity is after a check. But every celebrity is after a check. I'm after to leave check marks on things that I've checked off, dreams that I've had, even if I have to use my own checks. Gramophones. It first was gramophone, and that gramophone is now our Grammy Award. And we went from selling gramophones and music being played on gramophones to music being played on iPhones. And now we have iTunes. You know what dope is backwards? E-pod. Not iPod. E-pod. It's like excellent pod, extravagant pod, energizing pod, entertaining pod, entertainment pod. Exactly. Pod.
I know I'm very critical of Will.i.am, but let me just make it extra clear that, like, I don't despise the guy. It's really easy to crack jokes, but I'm sure he's a nice guy and a very hard worker. I only recently learned about all the foundations and charities Will actively creates and supports with his absurd wealth, but now that I'm aware, I certainly can't hate the guy. He's like a nicer version of Brendan Schaub. Schaub was a fighter and now he's a comedian. I'm not saying he has absolutely no talent in this new field, but you know, he's clearly not ready to be shooting any comedy specials, if you know what I mean. Either way, Brendan Schaub can go fuck himself. Fuck that guy. On that note, let's have Will.i.am play us off with a beautifully insightful quote about education reform. Take it away, Will.
It's terrifying what's going to happen 15 years from now when technology goes like this and the sentence is